This team already loves playing for their country. These players already love each other and love playing with each other. And it's just for me to enhance that, right? To continue to add to it, to continue the players, to continue to challenge the players, to even give more and to believe more and to commit to the way we want to play football. And all of it underlying in the fact that in 2026, we have to put on a show. Right? We have to exhibit what this country's about for the nation, most importantly, but for all the world to see. So these are magnanimous ideas. But in the end, it's going to come down to the details of how we work every day, how we communicate, how we commit to each other. And again, I would like to get started now. I have to wait 3 weeks, to actually get to see the players in camp together. But the energy that I will bring every day, I think will be the best example for how we can become the best possible team that we can become.
There he is, Canada's new manager, the impressive Jesse Marsch, in conversation with our very own Adam Jenkins. And this is the first time that us three have got together and we can chat about this hire. It's big news in the Canadian soccer space. Quite frankly, this made headlines worldwide as Jesse Marsch was linked to other jobs and has a resume that goes well beyond our own borders. So KJ, it's going to be a very busy time in the build-up to the friendlies against France and Netherlands. You could watch right here on One Soccer, and of course, Copa America. What is his first order of business?
Well, I think it's already begun. I think his first order of business is making sure you communicate and connect with his players. Ultimately, these players, as soon as they found out about it, they were put on a media call on Monday, right before the press were, and they got opportunities to hear from him. But it was not necessarily an environment where a player would feel necessarily comfortable or had the time to, let's everybody have a chat for 4 hours over a Zoom. So, he's had time to travel and go meet with some players already, and he will continue to do that. And what I like about it, from what I've heard him from what he's already spoken about publicly, is that these players have felt a level of comfort where they can express to him what's already happened. And it's up to Jesse what he wants to do with that information, by the way. And I'm sure he understands from players that not everything needs to be digested and everything needs to be changed. And of course, players are made to be, look out for themselves sometimes. But I do know that these players care deeply about the program and want Jesse Marsch to be aware of what's happened in the past. So for me, he's an outstanding communicator. And we all know that. The next level for me is he an outstanding listener? And we're going to find out.
That's a great question. I love how you put that, KJ. I think for me, too, when I think about his squad, I'm just wondering if Jesse Marsch is coming in and figuring out who the leaders are. Like, I know John Herdman had his leaders and his go-to, but who are the leaders going to this group? Because every time you hear Jesse Marsch, people talk about his distinct playing style and his man management skills and what he brings to the table. But all that doesn't mean as much if you don't have players that will go out and fix problems as they're happening on the pitch. So who are those guys? And can you get them all on the same page quickly? Because he doesn't have that much time. I know in the grand scheme of things of the World Cup in 2026, yeah, it's 2 years away. But in terms of quality football, it starts now. So you have to get everyone to buy in and buy in quickly. I think he can do that, but it is a tall order to go in, win someone's trust, get them to know you, get them to trust you, and to already execute the plan that you have in motion.
What about that philosophy? That's what's the most curious element for me. Clearly, he has a good resume. He's a very well-spoken individual. He's a really good manager. But does his philosophy jive with not only international football, but the way that Canada should be playing moving forward, KJ? Because whether we like it or not, he's intrinsically linked to the Red Bull brand. New York Red Bull, Salzburg, Leipzig, then moved on to Leeds United, where he still played a Red Bull-esque style of play. Chaotic, high pressing, a lot of running, work off the ball. Does he need to adjust? How does this fit the Canadian quote-unquote system of play?
Does he need to adjust? Yes, absolutely. Will he adjust? I think he absolutely will. I understand what everyone says when they talk about Marsch's philosophy. I just think it's way more bigger than that. I just think that, if we believe that he's just going to come in and say, it's my way, this is the only way I'm going to play, this is the only way that we're going to succeed, I think we're all naive. I think he's far too smart to understand that. I think he understands that he's coming from an element of club football to a different sport. International football. He's coming to another area where it's a very different sport in every single way. I can see the passion when I hear from him. He's used the word love a number of times, and I think it's an important one to use. And I think he is going to fall in love with these players. And he's going to find it very hard when they're not playing for him, and he's got to watch them play for his club, Jordan, for weeks and weeks until he gets them back again. So he needs to make sure that when he receives them, how do you take care of players that you love, quote unquote, in a best way? And if Alphonso Davies is coming into camp in February and he's just spent 30 games playing in the last 3 months for Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, wherever he is, do you think you're going to ask him to go again and run and run and run and run? Or do you think you're going to get these players at the end of a football season in Europe and go back to the World Cup and say, run, 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 run? I think Jesse Marsch will look at the numbers and look at his players and do what's best for them at that time. Not necessarily because this is the only way that he's played.
He has been very outspoken of his philosophy. He's written about it, KJ.
But look at the teams he's playing. Look at these teams he's playing. France, Netherlands, Argentina, Chile, Peru.
Okay, then let me rephrase the question. What does a Jesse Marsch side look like outside of the previous systems that he's worked in? I think that comes with a little bit of intrigue because I'm not sure what that looks like.
Jesse Marsch has never coached at an international level.
I understand that.
I think he has the right to be able to say, yes, this is how we want to play, but I think we also have the right to say, let's find out whether he makes the changes. I don't think we should all be saying, oh, suddenly he's not playing the way he wants to play anymore, what's going wrong? Because that we could spin it the other way, by the way. You could say, oh, he's not playing the style anymore. Why? This is not what we signed up for.
But the point is we don't know. We don't know what this is going to look like.
And I just wonder what Plan B is, right? I think Plan A in the ideal world, to Wheels' point, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but we can understand what Jesse Marsch would like to play, how he'd like to play, maybe like a 4-2-3-1, pressing, winning the ball high, and being vertical. My question, and it's always remained ever since the final against the U.S. when they had our number, can Canada have a Plan B? Can they figure out another way to break down teams? Is that with the ball, possession-based? This is what I want to know, and this is my question to Jesse Marsch, is do you have a number two when things going tough, or if you have to play Jamaica in Kingston when it's super hot, do you have a way to break down teams? And I hope that he does.
Jesse Marsch's number one priority is how to protect their major weakness, defending.
100%.
That's his number one priority for me. How do you protect your major weakness? We could sit here all day and say who's going to play at the back. Go find them. Go find players. But, this is the issue. Who can play at the centre back? We're going to look and put together some projected 11s in a second. We do not have an enormous crop of international caliber players who can play in that position.
I'm so excited to see what this looks like. But this is what inevitably cost him his job at Leeds. And I know that Leeds is a lower bottom team in the Premier League, but he couldn't solve that problem on how to properly defend. I know it's not apples to apples, KJ.
It's a completely different sport.
But
KJ,
fair to bring up, though,
but Canada playing France or the Netherlands or Argentina or the US or Mexico, whoever they're going to play, you need to be able to set yourself up in a way that you can defend. And if you play chaotic and leave yourself wide open, then the process might look good, but are we going to judge this by results, or is it going to be the process here?
Well, I think both. I think both the process and the results. I mean, I've heard people say that, Canada needs to get through the group at Copa America. I don't agree with that. Ultimately, we have to remember where they're coming from. Canada were very lucky to be in this tournament. What are they? If they're not the 16th team arriving in Copa America, what are they? The 15th, okay? So they got through a repechage, effectively, tournament to try and get into this tournament. A confederation tournament that goes back 100 years with unbelievably brilliant teams. And just because we've got Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, and a new manager, we think we can go there and pump these teams, Chile and Peru.
I don't think pump, but I think it's fair. Take Argentina aside, Chile and Peru, I think, to give them a fight, for sure. I think that's the expectation I'm going to put on this team.
Give them a fight, yes, I understand. We don't want to see them get beat 3 or 4-0, but to have this expectation that they need to go there and get through the group, I think we have to understand where they've not beaten anybody or played any substantial good football for a while, okay? So, you could go back to almost the Edmonton World Cup qualifier and they come through that January setting, beat the United States in Hamilton. It's been a while, guys. It's been a long time, over 2 years, since they've beat anyone of real substance. So I just think there's some time needs to be had here. Every credit to Canada Soccer for getting these friendlies. But if we're going to sit here and analyze this team based on these games, I think we could be disappointed.
It's tough. It's tough. And that's why I raised more questions. I think there's more questions than answers. How do we analyze? How do we assess? What are the expectations? These will all be fun discussions here over the next few weeks. KJ, you did attempt build a Jesse Marsch starting 11 for the upcoming window.
And Jordan?
I did too.
Jordan did as well. KJ, we'll go with you first, okay? So maybe walk us through what you're thinking.
Yeah, look, for me, it's just trying to get the best players on the field, right, at the right time. And I think that there's a lot of flexibility to something like this. You know, ultimately, there's a lot of things in there where I would say Bombito, I like Joel Waterman, but we're going to talk about that game on Saturday in a second. But Montreal, confidence-wise right now, are shaky. You know, they don't have the necessary players to play in that position a lot. They haven't got a ton of players. I like the flexibility. I know that Marsh has talked about getting Davies further forward. In this situation, imagine Davies goes forward, Buchanan comes back at right back. Maybe it can look more like a 4-4-2. Kone, for me, if you play him a double pivot with Eustachio, I would be worried. And again, Samuel Piet's form is very important. We don't have tons of number 6s in this country either. But if you're going to play big teams, you've got to fill up the midfield, and you can't expect to go play like they did in the World Cup, play 4-4-2 and expect that you're going to be okay against Argentina.
Well, just really quickly, I don't think there's a goalkeeper that's playing great for Canada right now in terms of their club football. I think that what that looks like, we will see. Portland shipping a lot of goals. And it's not all in Crépeau. Kamal Miller's part of that back line. There has to be some kind of concern there. Again, if we're going to look at Jesse Marsch's teams and the way they've typically played, you have to be strong in the midfield. You need warriors, you need ball winners, you need players that can drive the team forward.
That's why I've got Piet in that team.
And that's why, is Sammy Piet that guy still? I'm not quite sure. Jordan Wilson, let's present your starting 11.
Yeah, there's a lot I like about KJ's side, but I still think Marsch, again, I'm guessing, I'm just going off of a hunch, but that 4-2-3-1, I feel like will be his bread and butter. And when I think about Waterman in the back, I think Bombito, we'll talk about it a bit more in depth later on in the show, but that position's up for grabs for me as well, because I think if you're gonna play that spot, you really need to command that area. And Canada, for me, would I say it's a weakness? I think, yeah, it's a weaker point in terms of defending great opposition and making sure that you own your area. Davies, I think he's going to be a left back, and I think you're going to have that double pivot of Eustachio and Kone. The left wing was really tricky for me because you have Adekugbe out right now and you have Larea out. I think if both of those guys are healthy, this looks different. I threw Hoyle in there because he understands press, and I think he's been in great form. But David playing at that 10, for me, I could see a world where this happens. Him popping up because he's pivotal. He can go and press. He can find good spots in the area. When he plays at the front two with Laron, he kind of does that anyways. So having Buchanan as a threat on the right, I could see
it doesn't
really
sound like his preference is to play Davies at left back. I'd be surprised if that is the scenario.
Who else could he play there?
That's the question
right now. Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think healthy, you can flirt with some ideas.
That's why
I
think that probably KJ's formation is probably the way to go with this group right now, allowing, you know, a Davies and Buchanan to push forward a little bit more. I'm a little bit surprised that maybe more change wasn't in your 11s. Like Piet comes in, Hoylett comes in, wasn't even in the squad last time around.
Yeah.
Are you sensing that Marsch says he's going to bring a bigger squad to that camp in Europe where they play France and the Netherlands? Do you think there's going to be very much change, KJ? Can he? Well, is the talent pool deep enough?
No, I mean, he's raved about the talent pool, and I think he has every right to, because I think when he talks about it, for me as an evaluator, I think he talks ceiling. He's talking at the very elite level. What can they reach? What is the full potential? And that's his job, by the way, is to get everything, right? Get everything you can out of these players. What is the ultimate ceiling of these players? So, of course, when he talks talent pool, he's thinking Alphonso Davies at his absolute best. Jonathan David is absolute best. So, for me, the talent pool is very, very thin. We all know that. I like Luc de Fougerolles. I'd love to see him play more. If he's playing more, he has a bigger ceiling than I think any of those other defenders that I picked.
I think that Bombito has to be in the team. That's one player that I would definitely put into the team. I don't know. I just think that based upon the profile of the player, like maybe an Ali Ahmed gets put into that scenario. I want to see players that can run, at least stylistically play his way, even if he does change the approach.
I'm really excited to see what he can do with Buchanan. That's, for me, is the player that I think he can get the best out of.
And these are huge games, and we're going to have them both for you right here on One Soccer. The Netherlands and France. Just incredible month of football coming up for Canada as the Jesse Marsch era kicks off.